Hello and welcome to episode 91 of Fergo on the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And joining me once again is the glorious League Freak, who you can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there?
I'm going pretty good, Andrew. How are you?
Not too bad. We've both overcome quite severe near-death experiences this week.
Yeah, I saw my life flash before my eyes. It was a bunch of bad choices and the Panthers beating the Canberra Raiders and the Sydney Roosters to claim grand final victories over teams that cheat the salary cap, so it was nice.
Yeah, and I saw mine was just me getting sick all the time.
Just sick of getting it again.
Yeah, till eventually I just gave up and said, fuck it, I'll just accept it.
Do you reckon your tombstone would say, like, it's about time?
Yeah, just finally.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Took him a while.
He had enough cracks at it.
Yeah.
Now, towards the end of this month, we have the first ever Rugby League World Cup 9's taking place in Sydney.
Mm.
It's going to take place at the shiny, brand new, sparkling Bankwest Stadium.
The best place for it.
It certainly is. 30,000 people sitting there, standing over the top of everyone. It's going to be pretty damn fantastic. And there's 12 teams lining up.
Mm.
It's
interesting that they went with 12 teams. I think they've been very conservative, but we'll talk about some extra teams we think they should have added later on.
Yeah, I mean, I even said when initially they launched this that I thought 12 teams was being far too skimpy.
Yeah.
I think they needed to have more teams. And, I mean, everyone knows when it comes to, World Cups and stuff like this, you always want to have, multiples of 4 as your teams because you can have a nice, neat knockout phase as well to get down to the final. We've seen in the World Cup over the last few years where they had, 14 teams or 15 or some stupid thing. You got that weird hybrid dicky Group DC thing when teams are playing inter-pool matches, and it's just stupid. Just put another team in there for Christ's sake and make it work properly.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that when they've gone for the smaller competitions in the past, they've been like, okay, we want to make sure that the score lines aren't big, and they're always big. And then when they've expanded the competition, it basically has been better every single time. I don't understand why going conservative is a good idea, especially in the condensed format of the game. Like, this lends itself to, you could have named 20 teams, or 24 teams, as you say, multiples of 4, and it wouldn't have been a problem. Like, the very worst teams, they have a better shot at winning at this level of their sport than they do in a test match.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's not like they're not playing 80-minute games here, so you could have had 24 teams here, 32, I even argued at one point they should have just invited every single team that's got a test ranking or got an international ranking, bring them all over and all play over the course of a week.
Yeah, like it wouldn't be the worst idea. The only reason they wouldn't do it, I would say, is because of obviously accommodation. That would cost a whack, but I don't see why not. I don't think it would have hurt it at all. I think it would have been really interesting. Can you imagine if there was every day of the week there was footy on at night? That would have been interesting.
Absolutely. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially leading into the test matches in the following weeks.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea. And you give every single player from every single nation around there a bit of experience in the premier market of rugby league in Australia on a premier stage in one of the best, or possibly the best stadium for rugby league in the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been to a number of stadiums, and it used to be Suncorp for me, and now it's Bankwest. So I tend to think it's the best stadium in the world for rugby league now.
It's a phenomenal structure, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Excuse me. So yeah, we've got 12 teams. It's we've got one from the Americas, and that's obviously the United States of America. One from the Middle East, which is Lebanon. 3 from Europe, England, France, and Wales, and the rest are from the Pacific. Excuse me a sec. That's Australia, Cook Islands, Fiji, Tonga, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and Samoa.
Yeah, and they've been broken up into three groups of four. You can kind of see how they've broken it up. I mean, the first group is kind of Australasia and the United States. The second group is kind of Europe and Lebanon, and the third group is Pacific Island nations. I tell you what, the third group is the group of death. If I looking at this, but the weird thing for me is that the way that they've got it, who qualifies from each group. So two teams qualify from Group A, and then only one team qualifies from Group B and one team from Group C. It's kind of a little bit strange to me that they've done it like that. I don't really see the need to do it that way, but that's how they've done it.
Why didn't they just go with, if they had to have 12 teams, then why not just have 4 groups of 3? And just have the top team from each group goes through.
Yeah, I really don't understand it.
Common sense just goes to the wayside sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? I hate that Australia's always in, and it's not Australia's fault. And I don't think it helps Australia in any way, because they're always qualifying anyway, no matter how you slice it. But I just hate the way Australia always seems to end up in some group where, they're always going to qualify. I would like to see a group that Australia was in where if they did lose a game, they're in real trouble.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see. But anyway.
That's right. I mean, I was saying before that, before we started, that these pools are always set up essentially to have the teams who the organisers expect to see in the finals have the easiest run to get there.
Mm.
You'll never ever see Pool A consist of Australia, New Zealand, England, and Samoa.
No. and they try and set it up so that they get, they manipulate the finals to a certain extent. They don't rig it, but they like to have Australia playing either New Zealand or England in the final.
Yeah.
And they make sure that the draws are set up kind of that way.
That's right. You won't find Australia, New Zealand, and England on the same side of a draw.
No, never.
One or two of them will always be on the opposite side to Australia.
Yeah.
And it's just always that way. And I think it's time we need to start randomising this caper instead of just having it being handpicked all the time, because it's just it makes it too predictable and makes it boring as batshit. So I'm hoping the 9's completely rejigs a lot of people's ideas as to how these teams perform, and some of them blow our minds, I guess.
Yeah, same here. And I think they will. I think that there's going to be a few, not so much surprises in this tournament, but I think that there's going to be things that don't go to plan in this tournament, if that's one way to put it.
Yeah. Now, before we get on to anything further, we had discussed that given the weird setup they've got where 2 teams from Pool A go through and only one from the other 2.
Yeah.
We're saying that they should have a Pool D.
Yeah.
And which 4 teams will we have in there? And we came up with Serbia, Jamaica, Canada, and Germany.
Mm.
And only because they've all been on the world stage and playing a lot of international matches for quite a few years now. And they've
been active. I think that's the main thing. I think that this was a good opportunity to really give teams that are active a chance to go and do, because this should be seen as a development for every nation going towards test matches. You can start off by saying, well, look, if we can get a good 9 squad together, we're almost there to a test match, and I think that this would be a great stepping stone.
And it's a safe one too, because you're not going to have to worry about teams being belted 108-0 by Australia or England or New Zealand.
Yeah.
The worst that's going to happen is they might lose 30-0 or something. I mean, that's not exactly going to be soul-crushing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a great stepping stone, and I would have loved to have seen that. And then you could have just had the top 2 from each group go through, and that means that 2 of those developing nations go through as well. So that gives them a reason to compete. And that would have been fantastic.
And the other thing is too, I mean, you could have mixed up the pools a little bit. It would have been cool to see the United States play Canada. and they play each other quite a bit at international level. But it would have been cool to see them facing off for a chance to go through to the next stage. Just little things like that. It'd be interesting to see how Jamaica takes to this form of the game in general, because they're not too bad at the full 17-man game. But yeah, I guess that's something. I don't know if they said they're going to do this every 4 years or what, but hopefully, I'd love to see this every year. Hey.
I don't see there's any reason why they couldn't do something like this every year.
Yeah.
I'll find some reason not to, though.
Nah, we'll probably see this again in 20 years' time.
I'd hope that if they don't do the World Cup next year, that we do see at least every other nation who's not involved in this one playing in a 9's competition next year, and it gets a reasonable amount of attention, and we're all able to watch it as well, because that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, you know what also would be interesting to do with the 9's at international level is, I mean, you could have a 9's tournament, and I think I wrote an article about this, like having a 9's tournament on Australia Day, something like that. So you could have like ones at different points of the year. Like I'm sure you could probably fit a 9's tournament in like midweek around Origin with players that weren't involved in the Origin and internationals. There's so much that can be done with it. That's the thing that excites me.
Yeah. No, there's definitely plenty they could do with it, and at the moment it feels a bit limited. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be expanded upon and needs to be made a lot more, more wide-reaching. I'd like to see.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, one thing that's not very wide-reaching is the how far they've gone for the referees.
Yep. This was hilarious when you told me this.
So they've got 18 referees lined up for this.
Mm-hmm.
One's from England, one is from France, 2 are from New Zealand, and 14 are from Australia.
Well, so that's a nice spread.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that they didn't. Why haven't we got a P&G ref? Why can't we have a P&G ref? They must have heaps of them there.
We've got 12 teams. Why not have every team bring along a referee, and Australia can just provide another 6?
Yeah.
And that way you get your 18 refs.
That would be good.
That would have been fair.
Is Casey Badger doing any refereeing in this one?
She's not listed, but Belinda Sharp is.
Okay.
There's a few referees on the Australian list there who aren't NRL refs.
Yeah.
Tyson Bro, Darian Farmer, Todd Smith. That's pretty much it. There's Packy Parkinson from New Zealand, and then Chris Kendall, who's a Super League referee over in England, and Stefan Vincent from France.
Okay. I hope he's flamboyant.
Oh, he has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be. I want to see the big, bold hand signs.
Yeah, same here.
I'm only going to tune into games where he's refereeing just to watch him referee.
And I hope he doesn't know English as well.
Oh, that's got to be a given. Yeah. Actually, even if he does, even if you do know English, don't speak it.
Yeah, he doesn't have to. Just use the hand signals.
Flamboyant French as loud as you can. Yeah. And if someone talks to you, don't even look at them.
Yeah.
Look at the sky in the opposite direction and just wave them away with your hand. Get away from me.
You know what's way more likely is that he's a guy that was born and raised in Bundaberg and he has a French family. That's way more likely.
If we have a look at this, Henry Perinara is the only one that's been born outside Australia.
Yeah.
The rest are all here.
All right. Well, let's go through the different pools and which team's in each pool, hey? We'll go pool for pool. You're going to have to do 2 of them, I reckon.
Okay. So Pool A, we've got Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, and the United States. And got to think the old US has got a pretty rough run here.
Yeah, they've. It's not going to be fun for them. You know what? I look at them teams, PNG, like they're so hard to play against, and it's weird when you see them play Test footy. They like just try and bash you for 80 minutes. It's going to be interesting to see how their style translates in 9's football. I've got no idea. I've got absolutely no idea. The USA has a couple of handy players in their team, but yeah, they're on a bit of a hiding to nothing in that one.
Yeah. I expect the PNG are probably a good chance to upset New Zealand, and they could snare a spot in the final two. Not saying they will, but they'd be the biggest chance, I guess.
Yeah.
And in saying that, Australia's not exactly that far ahead of everyone else, I don't think either. So,
this Australian team is, I think it's kind of conservative. I think they're definitely using this team as a halfway point between the Test team and even just general Origin representation. But at the same time, the thing that Australia has done in all but I think one international that I've ever seen in my lifetime is that they always turn up. So they're always going to be hard to beat no matter who they name.
Yeah. Pool B.
Yes.
Sorry?
I was going to do Pool B.
Okay. You want to do it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I really do. So in Pool B, this is like the Europe and Lebanon one. Spoiler alert. England, France, Lebanon, and Wales. Now, we've said that Wales look like the worst team in the competition.
Yeah, I've had a look at their side, and they've kind of done something similar to what they did at the last actual, full-blown World Cup, where they decided to try and rely on players from Wales exclusively, not just players that were Welsh heritage and whatnot else.
Yeah.
And their squad doesn't look overwhelmingly strong, but this is 9's as well, and this is all virtually unknown for us, so we could be miles wrong. But out of all the squads, to me, their side did look the weakest.
Is this where I should tell people about my theory on Welsh rugby in general? Or should I save it?
Is it PG?
Yeah, it's PG.
Are you saying that so you can say what it is?
No, because I just say it anyway. But it's Welsh rugby, and I'm talking league and union, is so overrated. Like they go on and on about Welsh rugby, Welsh rugby league. How many great players have they produced in the whole history of either code? Like I'm talking properly great players. And when you line it up to how many great players the Penrith district has produced, it's not even close. Like, and Wales, like it's like, oh wow, Wales is going to be great. No, they're not. They're really not. They've had a handful of really good players over the course of 100+ years, and that's it. So yeah, Wales, way overrated. I don't understand why so much resource gets spent on Wales. They just don't produce.
This would be a great idea for an article. Is you write down the best 15 players from rugby union and rugby league from Wales.
Yep.
And then the best 15 players for rugby union and rugby league that come from Penrith.
Well, just off the top of my head, Wales hasn't produced anyone as good as Brad Fittler. Like, case closed, right? Then you got Brandy Alexander. You got bloody Mark Geyer. It's not even close. If Wales produced a Craig Gower, they would be talking about him for 30 years.
They had plenty of good players in the past they built up, though. And I'm talking going back into the just after World War II period, stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's 100+ years, right?
Yeah.
And Penrith hasn't been even in the top grade in rugby league for they come in 67, right?
Oh, we should do for the last 50 years then. I think you have a very strong argument there.
I will do it for the last 100 years. It's not even close. I will just do players that come from half of the Penrith district. We'd still smash them.
I'm trying to fly the flag here for Wales just for the sake of an argument. Billy Boston.
Not as good as Brad Fittler. Not even close.
I don't know.
Not even close.
I don't know.
Freddie, 2 World Cups, Kangaroo Tour. What else? Did he win 3 World Cups?
Two, I think. I think
Yeah.
wasn't there a big gap at one stage?
Yeah, there was, but he did 2000. He did 95. Was he in the one before that? I can't remember, hey. I feel like he only did 2, though. I think if he'd done 3, we would have remembered it. Anyway, Penrith. Penrith should be there instead of Wales. How about that? Are you with me?
Well, if we're going to start doing that.
Hawkesbury. Just call it Hawkesbury or something.
Hawkesbury region.
Yeah, the Hawkesbury region instead of Wales. Anyway, so what do we think of Pool B?
Pool B is weak.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, and I'll be going solidly for France.
Same here. I'm all in on France. I think the England team looks weird. I think it's very disjointed, and it's like just a collection of players that some of them aren't suited to 9's football at all. I mean, they named James Graham, which is just weird. I think he's one of the least suited players to 9's footy. But yeah, I'm with you. I hope that France romps this home.
Yeah, I don't know. Ever since I've always been a big fan of the French Rugby League team in the last, ever since I was born, to be honest, because they've always been struggling, always been getting flogged by teams and stuff like that. I don't want to see them finally get up and get some wins.
Yeah, same here. And they like when they're playing at their best, they throw the ball around a little bit. They like getting it through their back line. They play a nice style of footy, so this might be suited to them.
Yeah, and Lebanon has not been able to name a side with much or any actual NRL talent in it, so be interesting to see how they go. There'll be a lot of unknowns in that side for Australian fans. Pool C, Tonga, Cook Islands, Fiji and Samoa, and as you said before, poor Cook Islands.
Yeah, they always punch above their weight. It is kind of ridiculous how much top grade talent that they produce for such a little place. But they're in the group of death. They're just up against 3 juggernauts right there who've all named very, very strong teams. Cook Islands team is actually pretty good. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that they're in that group. I think if you took the vast majority of other teams that are in this competition and put them in Cook Islands' place, I would probably say the same thing. It'd be like, oh man, the poor buggers.
That Pool C is a group Australia should be in instead of Cook Islands.
Yeah, I agree.
That would have been a fantastic group.
Yeah, that really would have been. Out of that group, damn. I mean, you have to go with Fiji, being the best of the group, but Tonga and Samoa have named really strong teams. I'm really interested to see how Tonga goes, especially with Taumalolo and that.
That group could actually come down to which team hammers the Cook Islands the most, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
The other 3 games could all be, they could all end up with 1 win each.
Yeah, if they don't,
each, something like that.
Yeah, if they don't all beat like one another, when they lose against each other, it's going to be devastating for their chances because only one team goes through from that Group C, which is unfortunate. But it's also, I guess, a good sign for the competition in some ways that, there's going to be some good teams that don't qualify. I guess it shows that there's a lot of depth in the competition.
Yeah. I think what they should have done, actually thinking about it now, is don't actually say that 2 teams from Pool A will go through and one from the other 2. Just say, right, at the end of the pool matches, we'll put you all in a composite ladder.
Yeah.
And the top 4 teams all go through. It doesn't matter what pool they're from.
Yeah, I mean...
Because I don't see why Pool A should have 2 teams go through and Pool B and Pool C only get 1.
Well, maybe they could have done like the top team from each group goes through, and then the team with the next best for and against from the remaining groups goes through. That would have made it interesting because then you would have had the likes of like Australia playing New Zealand. Australia and New Zealand should go through, right? But if you had it in that regard, whoever wins that game is going through. Whoever doesn't is no guarantee at all.
Yeah, that's right.
Would have made it really interesting.
That's right. So, there will be some interesting stuff there. It looks like, though, it's designed so that Australia and New Zealand go through from Pool A, England from Pool B, and God knows who from Pool C, probably Tonga.
Yeah, and it's, as
you said, Fiji looks like it could be a genuine favourite there.
Yeah, and like when they get to the knockout stage, the two top teams from Group A, they go to the separate sides of the semi-final draw. So we could see Australia play New Zealand in the final, which should be, I hope that doesn't happen, but we could see that. I'm really, really excited for this tournament. I like this way more than I like the Auckland 9's, where it's just NRL clubs. I look at this tournament and it's finally an international rugby league tournament where I don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if New Zealand beat Australia in that Group A. You know what? I wouldn't rule out any of the teams in Group C outside of Cook Islands winning the whole thing.
No, that's true. Pool B looks to be the weak group.
Yeah. We'll call that the Bludger group. B for Bludger.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So we ranked all 12 teams in this, and keeping in mind that we've got no form to go on, and we had a look at their squads and what we thought of them, and we put together a ranking list of how we think these teams line up from 1 to 12. And I think that, if anything, it's a good starting point. I don't think it's like I don't think either of us are sitting here going, this is how it is, and we're going to argue with everyone. I think this is a good starting point and until we see otherwise, this is how we would probably rank these teams.
Yeah, this is called educated guesses by experts.
Yes, definitely. So let's go from last to first, eh?
All right. So 12th place, we've got Wales.
Yeah. They look to be the worst team in the competition. In 11th place, we got Lebanon. Be interesting to see how they go, but I don't expect them to win a game.
They'll be very close to Wales as far as results goes, and the match between those two will determine who's 12th and who's 11th pretty easily.
Yeah.
10th, we've got the USA, only because they've tried to stick with mostly American players. Mm-hmm. Which is not a bad thing, but it just means that they have got a slightly understrength side.
Yeah, and I actually think it's a good thing. I think they need more of it to give the incentive to their local players. In 9th place, the Cook Islands, who, as we said, always punch above their weight. Pretty good team. I remember watching them absolutely annihilate South Africa in an international earlier this year.
Yeah.
And, man, it was like the Cook Islanders just were bigger, faster, stronger. So they're a good team. And yeah, they're unlucky to be in that Group C.
That's right. France were 8th. Because pretty much most of their squad is either playing in the Super League or have been playing with one of the elite teams in the Championship, which is the next division down from the Super League. And we're kind of tossing up whether they should be 8th or 7th. So we think there's a fair gap between the Cook Islands at 9th and France at 8th. We've sort of separated the bottom 4 from the rest, and that's sort of the divide there.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like France is slowly building, hey? Like, I feel like we're going to get to one of these tournaments and France are going to put a game on someone that's going to shock everyone, you know? Kind of like what Tonga have done over the last couple of years where it's like, oh, shit, they've arrived.
Yeah.
So next, in place 7, this was getting very close now. we selected PNG because their style of play is probably more suited to test matches. They are very, they belt you for 80 minutes.
Intense.
And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they play in 9's.
Plus, there's a lot of unknowns in their side.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it comes to 9's. So it'll be interesting to see how they go there. 6, we've got England, because their side just looks like a bit of a mishmash. I think I said earlier that they look like some of their players got picked to go on a junket. The other half are sort of sitting there, not even a bit surprised that they got picked.
Yeah,
It's just a bit all over the shop.
It really is. They're probably, I think if you look at all of these international, the teams that were named in this, their one makes the least sense from who they could have picked. Obviously, they've got a lot of players that they don't want to burn out because they've got the Lions tour and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a very weird squad. In 5th place, we've selected Samoa, and pretty strong team. Of the Pacific Islands nations, they're probably not best suited to 9's footy and the abbreviated rugby league version of the game, but their squad is still very strong.
It is. We're kind of tossing up over some of these now because the gaps between each position is very small.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 very narrowly went to Tonga. God, they've got a good side, but they don't have a ton of Fijian wingers.
Yeah, exactly. I think, the thing with Tonga that I wonder is we've got this idea in our head of what 9's football should be. Tonga has enough big mobile forwards that I wouldn't be totally shocked if by the end of the tournament, instead of thinking this is about outside backs, we're thinking, oh, no, it's completely about big mobile forwards. Like, if Taumalolo is tearing it up the middle of the field because there's not as many players to tackle him, Tonga is the one team in this whole tournament that could turn the idea of rugby league 9's on its head.
Exactly. And you'd probably find that every other team after this will just be picking six barnstorming forwards who can play the whole distance and one playmaker and 1 or 2 speedy guys.
A couple of wingers, yeah. It could be. In 3rd place, we've gone with Fiji, and it's very, very close. Like, once you get to about, I reckon these top 3, there's nothing between them.
No, there's not. And Fiji just has, even at test level, their backline is just absolutely stunning. And, that's basically what they've just got to field here is just a ton of powerful backs. And they're just going to be absolutely perfect for this. They're perfect for it in rugby union, so of course they're going to be perfect for it here.
Yeah, and even Kikau in the middle of the field, like if they, instead of having him on the edges, if they have him just in the middle of the field, and if they can get him drawing in defenders and then putting it through their back line, wow, yeah. Unbelievable.
Absolutely. Number 2, New Zealand. They've got a pretty decent squad.
Yep.
Should do pretty well here.
Yeah.
And thankfully for them, they're not in the group with Fiji and Tonga and Samoa because they may struggle to beat some of those sides.
Yeah, and I think any team in this competition would. I really like the New Zealand team. They've been so under the radar as well, which I think is a good thing for the Kiwis. It's just a matter of whether they're going to turn up. Of all of the teams in the world that we see for rugby league, sometimes England don't turn up, but sometimes the Kiwis really don't turn up, unfortunately. So it's going to be, if they turn up to play, they're going to be really hard to beat.
There's one player I wish New Zealand had named, and that's Benji Marshall.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see how he went. I can understand why they didn't name him.
Yeah, he's in the test side, I think so.
Yeah, but still, yeah, it's man, can you imagine him and Johnson in the team?
It'd be fantastic.
I think I'd rather him than Johnson. Hey, I think that Benji worries me in every aspect of the game more than Johnson does.
Yeah, and also Benji started to bring back some of the old hops and skips and stuff this year too. So
Yeah.
I think he's shown that he's got the fleet of foot back and he's the confidence in his mind to start running like that again. So it'd be good to see him when he's got more one-on-one opportunities against other defenders.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if there ended up being a 9's circuit where they say played 4 tournaments a year, whether someone like a Benji Marshall could retire from the NRL but still play 9's rugby league.
Yeah, that'd be an idea.
Yeah.
One for a some big time investor to get involved in.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And number 1, got Australia.
Yes. It's hard to not put Australia at number 1. It's like, to beat the king, you got to beat the king. So, yeah, I think that they've got some handy players in that team. Some of them are a little bit so-so, and I'm not sure why they're there. But at the same time, Australia turns up all the time in these internationals, and they're always going to be the team to beat. Until they're being beaten regularly, they're always the team to beat. So that's why we picked them at number 1.
And I'm going to say this. I'm going to go on the record and say this, that I'm absolutely fine with Mitchell Moses being in that side.
Mm-hmm.
And I can even accept Clint Gutherson being in the team.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have Curtis Scott in there. I'd have Bronson Cherry in there, only because Curtis Scott hasn't played a great deal of footy this year.
Yep.
That's it. No others. No slight on Curtis Scott. And Bronson Cherry just has that blistering pace. I just think he's perfectly built for this.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was unlucky. I think that Gutherson is probably not suited to this style of football. I think you need somebody that's ready to attack the line hard and fast, and he just doesn't seem to be that sort of player. The Australians, someone like a David Fafita is probably perfect for this style of footy. Obviously, Josh Adokar is going to be a nightmare if he gets any space, good luck. Callan Ponga, another player like that. Cody Walker, I think, is going to lap this up. They've got a few proven performers there, like Kyle Felt, who at first you kind of look at it and why is he in the team? But he's going to get the job done.
Yep.
I think Frizzell and Wade Graham, players like that, are great selections. And I was talking to you the other night, there's a certain sort of play you think about when you think about 9's footy, but I would suggest they've looked at players that have good quick play the ball, because if you can get a couple of quick play the balls, you're going to have the opposition on the back foot straight away. I like having someone like Hunt in that team because he's a real toiler in the middle of the field as a halfback. So it's a very good team, but it's not like the superstar side you kind of think that Australia's going to put out, is it?
No, you'd think if they had every player available, they'd be putting the likes of Tedesco and Mitchell in there, and Jake Trbojevic, players like that. Who've got that skill of not just being a forward, but he can also play like an extra 5'8" on the field. Those sort of players are absolutely gold for this.
Yeah.
But it's not a rubbish outfit either. It's actually pretty solid. There is one roughie there, and that's AJ Brimson, but he's a pretty handy ball player himself. I don't mind him being there at all either.
Yeah, and I don't mind them using this Australian 9's team to give players a go and see what they can do either.
No, that's right.
I think that's a good thing for this level of football. And we've seen some of the other teams are doing similar things like that in between having their teams. I think that most teams have been named in that sense where it's like they've got their established stars, they've got their big-time backs, they've got a few players that they're given a go to and seeing how they turn up at this level. The only really weird one, as we said, was England, where they've named some players there that you kind of, you look at the team. Tom Burgess, really? Ryan Hall, to a certain extent, I can understand him, but he did nothing in the NRL this year. And James Graham is just not suited to this footy at all,
No,
unfortunately.
love him as a player, but I wouldn't put him in a 9 side. I'd put him in the test side and save him for that.
Yeah, unless they felt he needed a light run, but I would hope that that's not what they've used this for, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't call 9's a light run either, because it'd just be doing beat tests the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's going to be hard work.
Let's talk about who we think can win the tournament. I tend to think Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Tonga. I think that the win is going to come out of those ones. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the top 4 that we named. I think they're the only ones that are a chance of winning this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to see France top Group B, and I don't think it's out of their reach to be able to do that either.
Yep,
it's not a tough group, so I'd like to see them get up in there. That'd be fantastic. But mind you, they're going to have a tough finals match because they're playing either someone from the mighty powerful Group C or someone from pretty much Australia or New Zealand. That Group B is just in for a pounding. Doesn't matter who they are, poor bastards.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be a really fun tournament. I wouldn't be shocked if our top 4 that we've done in terms of ranking is completely the opposite way. I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the tournament we say, well, Australia's clearly the 4th place team in the world at this sort of football. I think towards the bottom, I think they're probably definitely going to be towards the bottom. The middle of it could be anything. Like that could be just completely shaken up. But I think there's definitely 3 levels that we're looking at here.
Oh, absolutely. So I dare say Australia will win. The way the thing's set up, it looks like they'll beat New Zealand. But I'll be going for France.
I think I'm going to go for Fiji in this tournament. I think it'd be so cool if they were the 9's champions. It'd be brilliant.
So we'll go for a Fiji versus France final.
Yeah, that would be great, eh?
That would be fantastic.
Is that even possible?
Yeah, because I think, it'd have to be, because Australia and New Zealand don't play each other in the first half of the knockout. So Fiji plays one, France plays the other.
Yeah, damn.
So
how cool would that be?
Fiji can knock out Australia. France takes out New Zealand. There we go.
You know, it would be funny because that would be one of the best things that's happened to the International Rugby League in like 40 years, right?
Absolutely.
And you know that the media would be like, "Oh, it's a bit of a disaster."
Oh yeah, they'd be doing. Oh, Australia's had a disastrous 9's tournament. Oh. It'd be the greatest thing ever for the game if you got to see someone other than Australia, New Zealand, England in a final of a World Cup.
What do you think of them playing this game on a Friday and Saturday? I don't like that it's on a Friday and Saturday. It should have been Saturday, Sunday.
Friday's stupid.
Yeah.
You got nothing else on. Why put it on a Friday night? Put it on Saturday. You got Saturday and Sunday, for Christ's sake. Put it on those days. You got all those days available. Put it on then. It just makes so much more sense. Yeah.
The other question I have for you is, what do you think about it for 9's level of footy, having teams like, say, the New Zealand Maori compete, having, say, an Australian Indigenous side compete against, obviously, Australia, New Zealand at this level? Do you think that it's something that in 9's footy is definitely something you'd be open to, or is it something that you think we should stick to having the national teams only?
I'd be open to it.
Yeah.
After all, the Maoris are listed as having played, actual test matches way back in the early 1900s. So
yeah,
I could argue that they've got every right to be there. I'd be more than happy to see that, especially with an Aboriginal side. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I wouldn't be against if you had like like teams that were combined, like say a combined African team or a combined South American team or like things like that.
Central Europe.
Yeah. I think that it really, because it's not test match level, you can do basically whatever you want with this.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's really cool about this. Like, I wouldn't even be against, at some points seeing like a New South Wales and Queensland team turn up again. Maybe not to be able to win a World Cup, obviously, but just to compete at this sort of level in 9's footy. I think that'd be really cool.
It would. They should. I mean, that was the thing that was great about it when they had it in the 90s, when they had the sevens there. And they just had whatever team wanted to turn up. You could bring a team, then you were in, and you'd have things like, as you were saying before, like USA would play Balmain, and then you'd have New South Wales Country versus Wigan, and it's just, you'd have nations, you'd have clubs, you'd have rep teams. It didn't matter. They just took any old thing and it was an unbelievably awesome mishmash of teams, and it just worked. People to it. I loved it. It was brilliant.
And I know with the Auckland 9's NRL competition, it just didn't excite me because it's like the same old teams competing again. But if they had had those teams, like if they had said, look, we've got the 16 NRL clubs, but we're going to invite another, I don't know, even like 8 teams to compete in it, that we're going to have international teams. Like I think I even wrote an article where I said it would be cool if they had like an invitational team that was just international rugby union players that were maybe off contract or something that wanted to have a run.
Just have international athletes from any sport come along and build your own team. You get like LeBron James out there.
Imagine the team with the darts players and the bowlers, professional bowlers.
Feel the power.
Yeah.
Feel the power. Taylor could be out there just plugging a few hit-ups up the middle.
Just so amazing to see them athletes compete at the highest level.
That'd be funny. Phil the Power Taylor gets out to some snooker player and he gets it onto someone from the lawn bowls team in England.
You get one of the the world's
Rory
strongest
McIlroy
competitors, like just can't move, but they're just like absolutely massive.
Get a few former pro wrestlers in there.
Yeah,
get the Rock out there.
The Rock. Yeah.
Mind you, he weighs about 300 bloody pounds or something like that these days.
Yeah, and it's all natural too.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to argue with it.
No. But yeah, really interesting in this tournament. And as I said, I like it because it's something new, it's something different, it's something we haven't seen before. And I hope that I would love them to play this every year. And I don't see why they can't do that, especially when you look the way that they've structured these squads. I think that there's the ability to rotate these squads quite a lot. And I really do. I think it's a fantastic addition to the game. It's a good stepping stone to like the test match arena, the full international games. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Likewise. And next time they do it, add another 4 teams at least, please.
Yes, please. We want them.
And on that note, we got any shout outs?
Shout out to all the regulars that listen in. You know who you all are. Shout out to the starting block. We love the starting block.
Drop the K at the end.
Yeah, drop the K. Who else is there we could give shout outs to this week?
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look through the Twitter feed now to see what we got on there. Who have we got?
All the people. I met 2 of my followers during the week.
Really?
Yes, I did. So someone's asking me if I've got a link to something. Oh, that's about the NRL website.
We've got obviously Nadine.
Yep.
Filled in for us last week while I was away. She did a brilliant job. So that's now your constant on-call duty now, Nadine. Dr. Alan Pearce.
Yes. He's going to be on our podcast on Monday. We're going to talk about concussion. We're going to talk about the SBS Insight program, which will be interesting. So I'm going to talk to him. I think we've also got another guest next Wednesday. Have we sorted that one out yet?
Yeah, I've got to get my finger out and do that.
Yeah.
So I'll sort that out this weekend. Don't you worry.
Okay, nice.
What else we got? Obviously, we've got Arabella.
Yep.
Katie.
Yep.
Richard Cranium.
Yep. I want to give shout outs to Adam, who I met this week, and Leonard, who I also met. Gave him a couple of League Freak jerseys. So it was good meeting those two.
Good work. Bartram 13, Sam Bayliss. You're a legend.
Lara listens in. Katie.
Trisha.
Trish, yeah. Hello, Trish.
There we go. I mean, we've rattled out a fair few there.
Yeah.
If we didn't mention you and you want to get a mention, just tweet us at FergoFreakPod and tell us on there, because that way it saves us having this dead air process that goes on right now where we sit there scrolling through tweets trying to find people's names.
Yeah. It's better than the last 10 minutes of our podcast. We're going, let me have a look here. Yeah. We're doing our best here.
I would like to say, mentioning another podcast here, thanks to the full credit to the Boys podcast. They had me on all year. Mm-hmm. And looks like they're happy to have me back again next year, which has been awesome. Big thanks to those guys. They've been a supporter of us as well, so that's been fantastic.
Excellent. And I want to also say, and this is, you're not even going to have any idea what I'm talking about when I say this, a message for Holly Smith. Holly, you are going to love it. Go over there. Anytime you open your mouth, they're going to love you. Just do it. It'll be the best thing you've ever done. Just do it, okay? It'll be fantastic. So take it from me. I went over there and they loved me as well. You just open your mouth and say, hey, g'day, how you going? And they just think you're the best thing ever. So any concerns you have, don't worry about them. Just get it done.
And something that I'm going to try and work into the next episode, maybe not the next one, but the one after that, depending on how many episodes we do before the one on Monday, is try and get my little girl on to say, how you going, mate?
Yeah, you got to do that.
I've taught her to do it with the wink as well. She's been doing it everywhere. She loves it.
See, I feel like I can't say that and then wink at someone. It's just too creepy.
Oh, you got to do the wink first. How you going, mate?
Yeah, you're right, actually.
She's got it down pat.
Yeah.
I've taught her a few other sayings, so I'll see if I can get her to say them all. If I can't, if I can't get her to do it on the podcast, I'll get her to do it in a separate YouTube video and we'll put it up.
Hey, you know the other thing that I did the other day? I was drinking a little bit, and I grabbed my phone and I told everyone about my second big purchase. Oh,
you did?
Yeah.
That's a big reveal?
If you didn't see, I revealed that I bought myself a life-size Iron Man helmet, and the eyes light up. It's got an automatic face mask that opens and closes and makes some noises as well. Cost me a lot of money, and yeah, it's so cool though. I don't regret it.
You need one of those ones that also changes your voice as well.
Well, you know what? I had a look online, and I have not been able to find one of those.
There was a viral video that went around a year or two ago of some woman who bought one of those Chewbacca ones.
Yeah.
You remember seeing that? And she was pissing herself laughing in her car. Every time she said something, she made her crack herself laughing.
Well, you know what? I saw a life-size Darth Vader helmet that does that, and it does the breathing sound as well, which is pretty cool. But I'm not going to buy one of those. But what I was looking for was to see if I could buy the electronics to have like the Jarvis voice, because that would have been cool to add that to the helmet. But then it's like, where are we going with this? At some point you got to look in the mirror at yourself and say, dude, just stop now.
think the closest I ever got to having something that looked like it was from a movie was one time I used a rag to clean up some oil on the ground.
Yeah.
And it was an old white singlet, and I went, oh, it looks a bit like that singlet out of Die Hard.
You know what the best thing is? Like, every single movie reference you do comes back to Die Hard.
It does.
Everyone. And the worst part is, I make movie references to you. I know you got no fucking idea what I'm talking about.
I'm clueless. I've never watched a Marvel movie in my life.
Yeah. I know I was talking about Alien 3 before, and I'm not even going to tell people what we're talking about. But, yeah, I knew you'd never seen it.
Yeah, and I've got it on DVD.
It's not as bad as people say.
No, it's not that it horrifies me. It's just more that, I don't know, just never got interested. I have watched movies like Predator and stuff like that.
Yeah. I cannot tell you, I watched The Hunger Games, all of The Hunger Games this week.
Yeah.
No, the movies. The most stupid movies I've ever seen.
No. You haven't endured the Twilight series.
You know what? I watched one of the Twilight movies once. I think I did it under duress.
Likewise.
And, they were pretty damn bad as well.
Yeah. A teenage girl deciding whether she wants to have sex with a werewolf or a vampire.
Yeah, it's bestiality versus necrophilia.
Yeah. What a great theme for a TV series for a bunch of teenagers to watch.
Exactly. I like the way that they turn the vampires when they're in sunshine, instead of burning and dying, they sparkle.
They sparkle with glitter. Aren't they so pretty?
What the hell is this crap? Although the worst movies I think I've ever seen, that one that's on Netflix with Sandra Bullock, Bird Box, that's terrible. And then there's one with Natalie Portman that's also on Netflix called Annihilation, which is just moronic. And then the other two that jump out at me are Miss Congeniality 2, In Her Shoes, and then there was one called The House of 1,000 Corpses that I was told was really good, and I couldn't believe how terrible it was.
The only movie worth watching that's got Annihilation in the title is Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and you don't watch it because you're going to be amazed by how brilliant it is, but by how blatant all the blue screen stuff is and how shit the story is.
I don't know.
I watched that movie and I just pissed myself laughing. I love it so much. It's so corny.
I don't know. There's some videos online that you can watch that have the word annihilation in them that are pretty damn good as well.
On that note, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for listening. We're going to start turning out these episodes more often again now. We've both been under the weather this week. That's been the problem. So, we're going to start turning them out more regularly again because we don't do off seasons.
No, I tried to make sure too that I had every type of virus possible all in the space of the last 5 days. So I'm pretty much over them all. You know, I've had fluids running from everywhere. I've had all types of headaches and flus and viruses and stuff like that. So I've pretty much nailed the whole plagues of Egypt in the space of a week.
It's
so I'm
good,
doing well. Can't be killed.
You've been more sick than Charlie Sheen.
Not on Tiger Blood.
Yeah.
So, yes, we'll be hoping to have a few more episodes out. We've got a few interviews coming up next week. Another 1 or 2 big history episodes coming up soon too. So, something for everyone there, and some good discussions going to come out of all of that too. So, keep your ears tuned for those.
Yeah, and thanks for listening.